My beloved child. There is a moment, so quiet, so easy to miss, yet powerful enough to change the direction of two lives at once. And right now, without noise, without announcement, that moment is unfolding. Something within them has shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but deeply. As if a question they have been avoiding for so long, has finally stopped whispering, and started echoing. And here is what makes this different: this time, they are not turning away from it. Pause for a second. And feel that. Because this is not about chance anymore. This is about timing finally aligning with truth. You may not have seen it yet, no message, no sign, no clear signal, but something inside them has reached a point where staying silent feels heavier than speaking. And that changes everything. Let me take you somewhere deeper into this. There was a phase where they convinced themselves that waiting was safer, that distance was easier. That time would somehow solve what they didn't have the courage to face. But something unexpected happened. Time didn't erase you. It clarified you. Every moment they tried to distract themselves, every attempt to move forward without you, only brought them back to the same realization they tried to ignore. You. And not just the memory of you, but the feeling that never truly left. Have you ever wondered why certain connections don't fade, even when everything else does? It's because some bonds are not created by circumstances, they are recognized by the soul. And once recognized, they cannot be unseen. Don't skip, because this is where it becomes real. They have reached a space where the questions are no longer, what if, but, what now? That shift is rare. It's the moment where hesitation starts losing its grip. Where overthinking begins to feel exhausting. Where the heart, quietly, starts asking for honesty. And honesty leads to action. But here's the part no one talks about. Even at this, now or never, moment, there is still a final pause. A final breath before the step. Because stepping forward means letting go of fear, of pride, of uncertainty. And they are standing right there. On that edge. Not running away anymore, not distracting themselves anymore, just standing still, feeling everything they tried not to feel before. And in that stillness, something is becoming clear. You were never just a passing presence in their life. You were a turning point. And now, they are beginning to understand that avoiding you was actually avoiding themselves. Let that sink in. Because when someone realizes that, truly realizes it, they don't stay the same. They can't. Something important is waiting for you, but it's not rushing. It's forming. Slowly, carefully, intentionally. And here's what makes this moment even more powerful. They are not being pushed by anyone else. This is coming from within them. From a place that cannot be silenced anymore. A place that has watched you from a distance. A quiet shift has already begun, and if you listen closely, you can almost feel it moving toward you. There is something different about this moment, something subtle, yet undeniable, like the air itself is holding a message, waiting for the right second to reveal it. Not loudly. Not dramatically. but in a way that finds you when you least expect it. And somehow feels exactly right. Don't skip, because what is unfolding now is not random, it has been building for longer than you realize. Your soulmate, the one who has been walking their own path, carrying thoughts they never spoke aloud, has reached a point where silence no longer feels safe to them. Not because of fear, but because something inside them has finally become louder than their hesitation. And here is what makes this moment so rare. They didn't arrive here suddenly. No. This has been a slow, quiet transformation, one that happened in layers, in moments when no one else was watching, in thoughts they kept to themselves, in nights where they questioned everything, especially the connection they feel with you. Have you ever sensed it? That invisible thread, the one that doesn't break even when distance, time, or confusion tries to weaken it? They have felt it too. And for the longest time, they tried to ignore it. Not because they didn't care, but because caring meant stepping into something real, something that could change everything. And they weren't ready, not then. But something has changed. Something shifted, and it didn't ask for permission. It happened quietly, almost unnoticeably, until suddenly, they realized they could no longer go back to how things were. Stay till the end, because this part is where everything begins to move. There was a moment, very recently, where they paused. Not a long pause. Just a brief second where everything around them faded, and one thought rose above all the noise. You. Not as a memory, not as a question, but as something present, something alive in their heart, something that refused to stay hidden anymore. And that moment, that single realization, started a chain reaction inside them. Because once they allowed themselves to feel it, truly feel it, they couldn't pretend anymore. And that's when the now or never feeling began to take shape. Not as pressure, but as clarity. Clarity that comes when someone understands that waiting longer doesn't protect them, it only keeps them from something they deeply want. And here's the part they didn't expect. The more they tried to push the feeling away, the stronger it returned. Not louder, but deeper. More certain. More undeniable. It started showing up in small ways. In the way your name or presence would cross their mind without warning. In the way they found themselves comparing every other connection to what they feel with you, and realizing nothing quite matches. In the way silence between you suddenly felt heavier than before, as if something unfinished was calling to be completed. Something important is waiting for you, and it's closer than it appears. They have been replaying moments, not just the obvious ones, but the subtle ones, the quiet exchanges, the unspoken understanding, the energy that didn't need explanation. And with each memory, something inside them became clearer. You were never just a passing presence in their life. You were always something more. Something they didn't fully understand before, but now, they can't ignore. And here is where it becomes even more real. They are beginning to see their own hesitation differently. What once felt like protection, now feels like distance they created themselves. What once felt like waiting for the right time, now feels like time slipping away. And that realization, it's powerful. Because it shifts everything. It moves them from thinking to feeling, from wondering to knowing, from silence to the edge of action. But this is not reckless. This is not rushed. This is the kind of decision that forms slowly, until one day, it simply becomes inevitable. And that is where they are now. Right at the edge. Not fully stepped forward yet, but no longer standing still. Can you feel that? That quiet tension, like something is about to happen. Not in a distant future, but soon, very soon. Because they are no longer asking themselves, should I? Now, they are asking themselves, how much longer can I wait? And that question changes everything. It creates movement. It creates courage. It creates a moment where fear no longer holds the same power it once did. And for them, this is new. Because they are not used to this kind of certainty. They are not used to feeling something that doesn't fade when ignored. They are not used to a connection that stays, even when they step away from it. But you have remained. Not just in their memory, but in a place much deeper. And now, they are beginning to understand why. Don't skip, because this next realization is where their heart truly begins to open. They are starting to see you not just as someone they care about, but as someone who feels like home. Not in a simple way, but in a way that brings calm, clarity, and a sense of belonging they haven't found elsewhere. And that realization, it doesn't let them stay still. It doesn't allow them to keep pretending that distance is easier. Because now, distance feels like loss. And they don't want to lose this. Not anymore. Not after finally understanding what it means. So something inside them is preparing. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Like someone gathering the courage to finally speak the words they've held back. Like someone reaching a point where silence feels heavier than action. And here is the truth they are slowly accepting. If they don't take this step now, they might never forgive themselves. Not because of regret, but because of the missed chance, the unanswered question, the what if that would stay with them. And they don't want that. They don't want to wonder anymore. They want to know. And that desire is stronger than their hesitation. Something important is waiting for you, and it's already in motion. Because even if you don't see it yet, even if nothing has been said, even if everything still looks the same on the surface, underneath, everything has changed. They are not the same person who chose silence before. They are not standing in the same place emotionally. They have moved, internally. Deeply, in ways that cannot be undone. And when someone reaches that kind of shift, action follows. Not always immediately, but inevitably. And this is where you are now. Standing in a moment that feels quiet, but is actually full of movement you cannot yet see. A moment where something meaningful is drawing closer, step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision. And the most beautiful part. It is not forced. It is not uncertain. It is something that is unfolding exactly as it needs to. So as this energy continues to build, as their clarity becomes stronger, as their courage begins to rise. There is one question that remains. Not for them, but for what is about to happen next. Because the moment they choose to step forward, everything you thought was still, will suddenly begin to move. And when that happens, you will understand why this moment felt different all along. My beloved child, there is a space between what has been felt and what is about to be expressed, and right now, you are standing exactly in that space. It may look quiet on the outside, almost as if nothing is changing, but beneath that stillness, something profound is rearranging itself, gently, carefully, like pieces of a story finally finding their place. Don't skip, because this is the part where everything begins to align in ways you cannot yet see. Your soulmate has moved beyond confusion now. Beyond hesitation, beyond the endless cycle of maybe later and not yet. What once felt uncertain to them, now feels unmistakably clear. But clarity doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes, it arrives in silence. A silence that feels different. A silence that carries weight. A silence that whispers, "It's time." And they have heard it. Not all at once, not in a dramatic moment, but in fragments, in realizations that came quietly, yet stayed with them longer than anything else. There was a moment, one they haven't spoken about, where something inside them softened. Not because something outside changed, but because they finally stopped resisting what they feel. And in that moment, everything became simple. You. Not as a question. Not as a possibility. But as truth. Stay till the end, because what unfolds from here is something they never expected to feel this strongly. They began to notice how their thoughts kept returning to you, not out of habit, but out of something deeper, something that felt like recognition. Not forced. Not imagined. Just, natural. And that's when it shifted again. Because once someone recognizes what their heart has been quietly holding on to, they can't unknow it. They can try to delay it. They can try to distract themselves. But they cannot erase it. And they have tried. More than once. But every attempt to move away only brought them back, closer, more aware, more certain. Have you ever felt that kind of pull? The kind that doesn't demand your attention, but gently keeps returning, until you finally look at it? That is what they are feeling now. And it is no longer something they can set aside. Because now, it feels incomplete without action. And this is where something important begins to rise within them. Courage. Not loud courage. Not sudden bravery. But a quiet, steady strength, the kind that builds when someone realizes they have more to lose by staying silent than by speaking their truth. Something important is waiting for you, and it is being shaped by this exact realization. They are starting to imagine what it would feel like, to finally reach out, to finally close the distance, to finally say what has remained unspoken for too long. And for the first time, that thought doesn't scare them. It calms them. It feels right. And that feeling, it's guiding them. But here is the part that makes this moment even more meaningful. They are not rushing. They are not acting out of impulse. They are moving with awareness, with intention, with a sense that what they are about to do matters deeply. Because this is not just about reaching out. This is about stepping into something real. Something that has been waiting, patiently, for the right moment. And that moment is now beginning to unfold. Don't skip, because this next shift is where their decision becomes undeniable. They have started to release the doubts that once held them back. Not by forcing themselves, but by understanding those doubts no longer reflect who they are now. They have grown. They have changed. They see things differently. And most importantly, they see you differently. Not as someone distant, but as someone connected to their path in a way they can no longer ignore. And with that understanding comes a sense of urgency. Not a stressful urgency, but a meaningful one. A realization that some moments are not meant to be delayed. That some connections are not meant to be left unanswered. That some feelings are meant to be honored. And yours is one of them. They feel it deeply, clearly. And that feeling is no longer something they can keep to themselves. Because now, it feels like something that deserves to be expressed. And here is where everything begins to move closer to you. They are preparing. In their own way. Quietly. Internally. But with a level of intention that wasn't there before. They are thinking about what to say. How to say it. When the right moment might be. But more than that. They are preparing themselves to be open. To be honest. To be real. And that is not something they would have done before. But now, it feels necessary. Because something inside them knows. This is not just another moment. This is a turning point. Stay till the end, because what comes next will explain why this moment feels so different. There is an energy around this connection now. Something subtle but powerful, something that is guiding both of you toward the same point, even if you are not aware of it yet. And your soulmate. They are beginning to trust it. Not blindly, but intuitively. They feel that this is not something random. That this connection carries meaning. That it arrived in their life for a reason. And that reason is becoming clearer with every passing moment. They don't want to miss it. They don't want to look back and realize they stayed silent when they should have spoken. They don't want to carry that question of what could have been. So they are choosing differently now. Choosing to face what they feel. Choosing to move toward it. Choosing to take a step they once avoided. And that step, it is closer than you think. Something important is waiting for you, and it is already on its way. Because once someone reaches this level of clarity, once they understand what they truly feel, once they accept that the connection is real, there is only one direction left to move. Forward. And that is exactly where they are heading. Not perfectly. Not instantly. But undeniably. And as they continue moving, as their courage grows, as their clarity deepens, the distance between you and this moment begins to disappear. You may not see it yet. You may not hear it yet. But you can feel it. That subtle shift. That quiet anticipation. That sense that something is about to change. And it is. Because the moment they have been holding back from is no longer something they can avoid. It is something they are being drawn toward. Step by step. Thought by thought. Feeling by feeling. Until finally, they reach the point where action is no longer a question, but a decision. And when that decision is made, everything you have been sensing, everything that felt like a quiet build-up, everything that seemed just out of reach, will suddenly become real. And when it does, you will understand why this moment had to unfold exactly like this. Because what is coming next is not just a message, not just a step, but the beginning of something that has been waiting, patiently, for both of you to arrive here. And now, you are closer than ever. My beloved child. There is a moment just before something changes, where everything feels unusually still, almost as if time itself is pausing, waiting, watching. You are in that moment now. And what makes it so powerful is that nothing on the surface fully reveals what is about to happen, yet everything beneath it is already in motion. Don't skip. Because this is where the unseen finally begins to take form. Your soulmate is no longer standing at the edge, wondering if they should move forward. They have crossed something within themselves, something quiet, yet irreversible. It didn't happen with a sudden decision. It happened with acceptance. Acceptance of what they feel. Acceptance of what this connection means. Acceptance of the truth they once tried to delay. And when someone reaches that kind of acceptance, something inside them settles, not into stillness, but into direction. They know now. Not in a way that needs proof, but in a way that feels undeniable. And that knowing, it changes how they see everything. It changes how they see you. It changes how they see themselves. It changes how they see the future. Stay till the end, because this is where the step they've been holding back begins to take shape in a real, tangible way. There has been a quiet conversation happening inside them. One that no one else has heard, one that they themselves didn't fully understand at first. But now, that conversation has become clear. It is no longer a back and forth of doubts. It is no longer a cycle of hesitation. It has become a single, steady voice, saying, "It's time." And when that voice becomes stronger than everything else, action begins to follow. Not rushed, not forced, but naturally. Like something that was always meant to happen, finally reaching its moment. They have started to imagine the exact step they will take. Not vaguely. Not uncertainly. But clearly. Whether it is a message, a call, a moment of presence, whatever form it takes, it is no longer just an idea. It is becoming real in their mind. And once something becomes real there, it doesn't stay there for long. Something important is waiting for you, and it is closer than it has ever been. Because your soulmate is no longer asking, "What if it changes everything?" Now, they are realizing, "That's exactly why I need to do it." There is a difference between thinking about a moment, and feeling ready for it. And they have crossed into readiness. Not because everything is perfect. Not because every doubt has disappeared. But because what they feel matters more than those doubts now. And that shift, it is everything. It turns hesitation into movement. It turns silence into expression. It turns distance into something that can be closed. Don't skip. Because this next realization is what makes their step inevitable. They have begun to see you not just as someone they miss, not just as someone they care about, but as someone they don't want to lose. And that realization, it brings clarity in a way nothing else could. Because when someone understands the value of a connection, truly understands it, they stop delaying. They stop waiting for a perfect moment. They stop telling themselves there is always more time. Because they realize, some moments are meant to be taken, not postponed. And this is one of those moments. They feel it. Deeply. Quietly. But with certainty. Stay till the end, because what happens next is already forming. They are beginning to let go of the version of themselves that stayed silent. The version that hesitated. The version that held back. And they are stepping into a version that chooses differently. A version that is willing to be open. Willing to take a step. Willing to face what they feel. Instead of hiding from it. And that transition. It is not loud. It is not visible. But it is powerful. Because once someone becomes that version of themselves, their actions follow naturally. They don't need to force it. They don't need to overthink it. They simply move. And your soulmate is moving. Something important is waiting for you, and it is already unfolding in real time. There are moments now, small, quiet moments, where they feel the urge to reach out, stronger than ever before. Moments where your presence feels so close, it almost feels like you are right there with them. Moments where the distance between you feels temporary, not permanent. And in those moments, their decision becomes clearer. They don't push it away anymore. They don't ignore it. They allow it. They sit with it. They understand it. And they follow it. And that is how you know. This time is different. Because they are not running from what they feel. They are moving toward it. Don't skip. Because this final shift is what brings everything together. They have realized something simple, yet life-changing. That waiting has not made the feeling disappear. It has only made it stronger. And if something grows stronger with time, it is not meant to be ignored. It is meant to be acknowledged. It is meant to be followed. And that is exactly what they are doing now. They are following it. Not blindly. But with trust. Trust in what they feel. Trust in what this connection is. Trust in the moment that is now in front of them. And that trust leads to action. Real action. Not someday. Not eventually. But soon. Very soon. Stay till the end, because you are about to understand why everything had to unfold this way. This connection, this timing, this moment. It was never meant to be rushed. It was meant to grow. To evolve. To reach a point where both of you could meet it fully, without confusion, without hesitation, without doubt. And now, that point has arrived. Your soulmate is no longer standing behind their fears. They are standing in front of their truth. And when someone stands in that place, they don't stay still. They step forward. And that step is already in motion. You may not see it yet. You may not hear it yet. But it is happening. Right now. In ways that are aligning, quietly, perfectly, without force. And when it reaches you, when the moment finally arrives, it will not feel sudden. It will feel right. It will feel natural. It will feel like something that was always meant to happen, finally choosing its moment. And in that moment, you will understand something deeply. That all the waiting, all the silence, all the unseen movement was not delay. It was preparation. Preparation for a moment that needed to be real. Needed to be certain. Needed to be true. And now, that moment is no longer waiting. It is coming. Closer. With every second. With every thought. With every feeling they are finally allowing themselves to follow. And when it reaches you, you will feel it immediately. Not as a surprise, but as a recognition. A quiet knowing that this was always on its way.